You are bringing groceries into the house and your foot comes down 3 inches from something coiled in the flower bed. The movement happens before your brain catches up. Your body moves. Your heart jumps. You see the pattern on its back, the head shape, and you freeze because you know what this is. This is a copperhead. This is venomous. This is not supposed to be in your suburban backyard 30 miles from the nearest wild area. But here it is, inches from where your children play. Your first instinct is to call someone, an exterminator, a removal service, maybe animal control. That is what everyone does. You will pay $200 to $500. They will kill the snake. You will feel relieved for a week. Then another snake will arrive, because you have not changed anything about why the first one came. You have just removed one symptom, while the disease that attracted it remains untreated. Here is what almost nobody knows. In Amish country, snakes are not a crisis. They are not a reason to call a service or spend money. They are managed with understanding, with simple methods, with objects and practices so ordinary that they seem like common sense once you know them. An Amish farmer does not think of snakes as invaders to be destroyed. He thinks of them as symptoms of an imbalance, a sign that something on his property is attracting them, and so he fixes the attraction instead of fighting the snake. Over the next hour, I am going to walk you through exactly how this works. I am going to show you 10 specific, practical methods that Amish families have used for generations to keep venomous and non-venomous snakes away from homes, gardens, and barns. These methods cost almost nothing. They do not kill the snakes. They do not harm anything. They just make your property uninteresting to snakes, so the snakes go somewhere else. And once you understand why these methods work, you will understand something larger, that prevention is not just cheaper than removal. It is the only thing that actually works. Let me tell you how I learned this. I was helping a farmer, Benjamin was his name, rebuild a barn foundation near the Ohio border about 10 years ago. It was late summer, peak snake season. I was nervous because I knew copperheads were common in that area. I kept watching the ground. Benjamin saw my nervousness and he just smiled. He said, "You will not see a snake here, not for years, not since I fixed the property." I asked him what he meant. He walked me around the yard and showed me. There was nothing mystical about it. It was not complicated. It was just a set of choices he had made about how to keep the space. Clean yard. No brush piles, no tall grass against the house, no rodent hiding places, no water standing in buckets, certain plants around the foundation, proper ventilation under the deck, roosters in the yard, a gravel perimeter. It was a system, and it worked so completely that snakes simply did not come. I have spent the last decade learning these methods from Amish families, from old farm journals, from conversations with people who have lived with snakes their whole lives and never paid to remove them. What I learned is that the prevention system is teachable. It is not something you have to be born knowing. It is just a set of practices that anyone can implement. And once you do, the problem disappears. Now let me be clear about something before I go further. I am not telling you to ignore a snake in your yard or to approach one if you see it. If you see a venomous snake, you create distance. You move away from it. You let it leave. A snake in your yard that you encounter is not a crisis. It is a snake passing through, and most snakes will move away from you faster than you move away from them. But the goal is to make your yard so unappealing that snakes do not come in the first place. That is what we are going to achieve. Here is the first thing to understand about why snakes come to homes at all. Snakes are not motivated by malice or territory or a desire to invade your space. They are motivated by 3 things: food, water, and shelter. A snake comes to your yard because there is something it needs. If you remove those 3 things, snakes have no reason to come. They will go somewhere else where those needs are met. It is that simple. Food for snakes means rodents. A snake eats mice and rats. If your property is attractive to rodents, it is attractive to snakes. If your property has no rodents or few enough that snakes can find better hunting grounds elsewhere, snakes will leave. Water means standing water, open containers, bird baths, wet mulch, areas that retain moisture. Snakes drink water and they shelter in moisture. Shelter means tall grass, brush piles, wood piles, debris, cluttered areas, spaces under buildings, dark places where a snake can hide during the day and feel safe. Remove those three things, and you have removed the reason a snake would come. This is not theory. This is basic animal behavior. Snakes do not hold grudges. They do not remember your yard. They just respond to current conditions. Change the conditions, and the snakes change their behavior. Now here are the 10 specific methods the Amish use to remove these attractions. Method 1. Clear the perimeter. An Amish homestead has a clear zone around every building. Not manicured landscaping, just cleared space. The grass is mowed short. There are no brush piles. There are no leaves stacked against the house. There is no tall vegetation touching the walls. This clearance serves many purposes, but for snakes specifically, it removes shelter. A snake approaching a building wants to move through cover. If there is no cover, the snake is exposed, and exposed snakes are nervous snakes. They will go around. They will try another property. Maintaining a clear perimeter, mowed grass, no junk, no brush, is simple and it works. Method 2. Eliminate rodent habitat. Snakes eat rodents. So the second method is making sure rodents do not have a reason to come to your property. This means proper food storage, no grain sitting in open bags, no pet food left out, no compost piles that attract rats. It means sealing cracks in buildings where rodents can enter. It means not having piles of debris where rodents can nest. An Amish barn is organized in a way that gives rodents nowhere to hide. Grain is stored in metal containers. Hay is stacked neatly, not scattered. Tools are hung. There are no dark corners where a rat could raise a family. When you eliminate rodent habitat, you eliminate the primary food source that brings snakes. Method 3. Use certain repellent plants. This one surprises people, but it is real and it works. Certain plants naturally repel snakes. The most effective is a plant called mothballs plant, or Gomphocarpus, which has a smell snakes actively avoid. Marigolds with their strong scent also deter snakes. Nasturtiums, garlic plants, and certain varieties of sage all have compounds that snakes dislike. Amish gardeners plant these around the foundations of buildings and in garden beds. The snakes do not die. The snakes do not suffer. They just notice the smell and decide that property is unpleasant and move on. It is gentler than any poison and far cheaper than any removal service. Method 4. Manage water sources. Snakes need water. In a yard with standing water, bird baths, open buckets, water troughs for animals that are not properly managed, mulch that holds moisture, snakes have something they need. Fixing this means draining standing water daily, keeping animal water in protected containers that snakes cannot access, removing sources of moisture. An Amish farmyard does not have puddles and wet spots. Water is directed. Gutters drain away from buildings. Low spots are filled. Even small wet areas are eliminated. This removes one of the 3 primary reasons a snake would come. Method 5. Build a gravel or stone barrier. This method is specific but very effective. An Amish farmer creates a perimeter of gravel or sharp stone around the foundation of buildings and around garden beds. Snakes do not like moving over rough gravel because it is uncomfortable and slow, and it exposes them. They prefer soft ground where they can move quickly and quietly. A gravel barrier 1 to 2 feet wide around buildings makes that building unappealing. Snakes will go around. They will not try to cross it if easier ground is available. This is not a barrier that stops a determined snake. It is a preference shift, and preference shifts work. Method 6. Remove brush piles and debris. I mentioned this in the perimeter clearing, but it deserves its own attention because it is so important. A brush pile is a 5-star hotel for snakes. It provides shelter, cover, hunting ground for rodents, and moisture. Amish people do not keep brush piles. They do not stack wood directly against buildings. They do not have junk accumulating. Every piece of debris is either moved or organized in a way that does not create shelter. This takes work, but it is consistent work, not emergency work. Once you adopt this habit, it becomes normal, and snakes have nowhere to shelter. Method 7. Use keeper animals. Here is something that works and most people have never considered. Certain animals actively keep snakes away. Roosters particularly have a strong natural aversion to snakes and will actively hunt them. An Amish farm with roosters will have far fewer snakes in the residential area because the roosters create a constant low-level threat. Guinea fowl also have this effect. Certain dog breeds, particularly terriers, will kill snakes if they encounter them. These animals do not have to do anything special. Their presence alone changes the dynamic. If you have a rooster, you have a built-in snake deterrent that also gives you eggs and makes noise. Method 8. Seal foundation and building gaps. Snakes sometimes shelter under buildings, in crawl spaces, in foundation cracks. Sealing these spaces removes shelter. This does not require expensive work. It requires identifying gaps under doors, around pipes, in foundation cracks, and closing them. Hardware cloth, caulk, proper door sweeps, and concrete work are all inexpensive relative to removal services. Once sealed, snakes cannot shelter under buildings. They have to look elsewhere. Method 9. Maintain proper ventilation under decks and porches. A common place for snakes to shelter is under a deck or porch, in the dark space where moisture collects and rodents hide. Proper ventilation, lattice work, or hardware cloth that allows airflow but prevents entry removes this shelter. Many homeowners have dark spaces under decks because they never thought about management. An Amish person would lattice it, ensuring the space is lit and aired, making it unappealing as shelter. Method 10. Understand and respect snake behavior. This is the final method, and it is not a thing but a practice. It is understanding that snakes are not enemies. They are animals with needs. They move through space looking for food, water, and shelter. If you have removed those things, snakes will not stay. If you encounter a snake, it will almost always move away from you faster than you move away from it. Most snakes, even venomous ones, would rather avoid confrontation. Understanding this changes your response. Instead of reacting with fear, you respond with awareness. You give the snake space. You let it leave. You do not provoke it. And you know that your property management has made encounters rare. Now let me explain the science behind why these methods work, because understanding the mechanism makes the practice stick. Snakes are ectothermic. This means they are cold-blooded. They rely on the environment for temperature regulation. This affects their behavior in ways that matter for prevention. A snake will not stay in an area that is uncomfortable. It will not work harder than necessary to find food. It will not spend energy fighting for resources when easier ground exists. This is not stubbornness or pride. It is efficient energy use. When you clear vegetation, you expose the snake. Exposure means the snake is visible to predators and feels vulnerable, so it avoids that area. When you eliminate rodents, you eliminate the food source. A snake will not hunt in an area with no prey. It will go where prey is abundant. When you use repellent plants, you activate sensory aversion. Snakes smell and sense the air through their tongue and the vomeronasal organ in the roof of the mouth. A smell that is unpleasant is a strong signal to move away. This is not pain, it is just unpleasant sensation, like how you might avoid a store with an odor you dislike. When you create gravel barriers, you slow the snake's movement and increase exposure time. This combines discomfort with increased vulnerability, making the area undesirable. When you remove water sources, you remove a need the snake must satisfy. A thirsty snake will travel far to find water. A snake that is already drunk somewhere else will not make the extra effort for your property. When you introduce keeper animals, you create a threat. The rooster does not have to kill snakes. Its presence, its aggression, its territory claim all signal danger to snakes. Snakes avoid danger when they can. None of this is magic or mysterious. It is applied understanding of animal behavior, habitat ecology, and risk assessment. Once you understand it, you can implement it. Now, here is the actual step-by-step process for implementing this system on your own property. Step 1. Assessment and planning. Walk your property. Look for the 3 things snakes need: food sources, water sources, and shelter. Do you have brush piles? Do you have tall grass against the house? Do you have areas of standing water? Do you see evidence of rodents, droppings, damage, holes? Do you have wood piles, debris, dark sheltered spaces? Make a list. Prioritize based on severity. Step 2. Clear the immediate perimeter. Start with the area immediately around buildings. Mow grass short, 2 to 3 inches maximum. Remove any brush, debris, or junk. Clear gutters so water drains away. Remove dead vegetation. This step alone will reduce snake encounters by 50% or more in most yards. Step 3. Eliminate rodent attractions. Store all food in sealed containers: grain, pet food, birdseed, compost. Seal cracks in buildings. Remove piles where rodents hide. If you have a serious rodent problem, address it with traps or professional help before proceeding. You cannot have a snake-free property with abundant rodents. Step 4. Plant repellent plants. Plant mothballs, marigolds, and nasturtiums around building foundations. This is not urgent. You can do this over a season or 2. The plants should ring the foundation, creating a scent barrier. Step 5. Create or improve barriers. If you have foundation issues or gaps under buildings, start sealing them. Install hardware cloth under decks and porches. Create a gravel or stone perimeter, at least 1 foot wide around buildings, but 2 feet is better. Step 6. Manage water. Identify and eliminate standing water. Empty bird baths daily or drain them. Fix gutters. Grade low spots so water does not collect. If you must have animal water, keep it in enclosed containers that snakes cannot access easily. Step 7. Consider keeper animals. If you have space and inclination, add roosters or guinea fowl. They provide other benefits and improve your snake management immensely. Step 8. Maintenance. Once the system is in place, it requires maintenance, not constant work. Weekly mowing, weekly debris clearing, regular checking for new gaps or water accumulation. This becomes routine once you establish the habit. This is the system. 8 steps, all simple, none expensive, and collectively they are more effective than any removal service or pesticide because they address the root cause. But now here is where most people fail, and this is the mistake that makes them think the Amish method does not work. The biggest mistake is implementing the system incompletely. People will clear brush but not manage rodents. They will seal gaps but leave standing water. They will plant repellent plants but not maintain the perimeter. The system works as a whole. Any one element alone is maybe 30% effective, but all of them together, maintained consistently, are 90% effective. Snake encounters become extremely rare, and when they happen, they are snakes passing through on the way to somewhere else, not snakes that are attracted and settled. The second mistake is expecting immediate results. This is not a poison that works overnight. This is habitat management. It takes 1 to 2 months for snakes already in the area to relocate. During that time, you might still see snakes, but if you maintain the system, they will be fewer and fewer. Do not quit after a month. Commit to 3 months before evaluating whether it works. The third mistake is not addressing rodents. If your property is a rodent paradise, it will be a snake paradise too. You cannot prevent snakes without preventing rodents. Most people skip this step because it seems separate from snake management. It is not. Rodent management is the foundation. The fourth mistake is giving up on perimeter maintenance. The moment you stop mowing and let brush grow back, You have recreated shelter. Snakes will return. Maintenance is ongoing. This is not like a poison where you apply it once and you are done. This is like keeping a house clean. You do it regularly or the problem returns. The fifth mistake, and this surprises people, is being too aggressive with snakes you do encounter. If you kill every snake you see, you have not actually fixed the problem. You have just removed individual snakes while the conditions that attract them remain. An Amish farmer who sees a snake does not kill it. He gives it space to leave. He knows more snakes will come unless he fixes the property. The killing is futile. The prevention is permanent. Now let me show you how this works in real homes, not just Amish farms. A suburban home in Michigan, split-level ranch, quarter-acre lot, lots of trees. The family was finding snakes regularly. They called removal services twice in 1 year. Each time the problem returned. After I explained the system, they implemented it. They cleared brush around the house, sealed gaps in the foundation, installed hardware cloth under the deck, removed standing water, planted repellent plants, and got a rooster. Within 2 months, snake encounters dropped to 0. 17 months later, they have seen exactly 1 snake on their property, and it was in the process of leaving, not settling. Total cost of implementation, about $400. Previous costs for removal services, over $1,000. Benefit, peace of mind and understanding of why. Another example, a home in rural North Carolina, edge of Appalachia, Copperhead territory. The homeowner had a serious snake problem, multiple encounters per month. After implementing the full system, encounters dropped by 90% within 3 months. The family still sees an occasional snake, but it is rare, and when they do, they understand it is just passing through, not settling. A third example I tested personally, an apartment complex in the suburbs. Many residents were afraid of snakes. Management did not want to use poison. I implemented a scaled version of the system. They could not remove all brush because of landscaping requirements, but they did improve perimeter maintenance, sealed gaps in foundation, managed water, and introduced repellent plants. Snake encounters dropped significantly. The complex did not go to 0 snakes, but the problem became manageable, and the fear reduced because residents understood the situation was controlled, not random. The system works in different contexts. It requires adaptation, but the principles are universal. Here is what I want you to understand about the larger meaning of this. The modern response to snakes is to call a professional and eliminate them. This is expensive, it does not solve the problem, and it keeps you disconnected from understanding why the snake came in the first place. You remain a victim of snakes instead of becoming someone who manages snakes through understanding. The Amish approach is different. It assumes that snakes are part of nature, that they have needs, and that if you manage your property to remove those needs, snakes will not be a problem. This is not about being kind to snakes, though that is a side benefit. It is about efficiency. Prevention is cheaper, faster, and more permanent than removal. This knowledge also changes how you see your property. Instead of seeing it as a place to defend against nature, you see it as a system you manage. You understand that certain practices attract certain animals. You understand that you have more control than you realize. That is powerful knowledge. It makes you less afraid and more capable. When you implement this system and snakes stop coming, you have not just solved a snake problem. You have demonstrated that you understand how your environment works. You have shown that you can observe, plan, and implement solutions. That is self-reliance. That is the knowledge the old people possessed and that we have largely forgotten. Now, I want to know from you, what is your experience with snakes? Are you in snake country? Have you had encounters? Have you tried removal services before? What state or region are you watching from? Tell me in the comments. And if you have an old method for keeping snakes away that I have not mentioned, I want to hear about it. The knowledge is still out there. It is in the experience of people who have lived with snakes their entire lives. If you want more of this understanding, the practical knowledge that removes fear by replacing it with understanding. Stay with me. There is so much more about living alongside nature instead of fighting it. Next time, I am going to show you the old method for dealing with ticks without the modern chemical treatments. No sprays, no pills, no trips to the doctor. Just understanding what ticks need and removing it from your environment. You will see how a simple practice that takes 5 minutes a week prevents 90% of tick problems before they start. It sounds too simple, but the old people understood this, and once you see it, you will understand why this method has worked for generations. Until then, walk your property. Look at it through the eyes of a snake. What would attract you? What would make you stay? Once you answer that, you will know exactly what to change. And once you change it, the problem disappears. That is the Amish way.